And now from our studios in downtown Winnipeg, it's time for 107 Live.
Tomorrow afternoon at the Raine JCC at 2 o'clock, the Music N Mavens concert and lecture series will present the Raine Hamilton String Trio. Raine has performed literally all over Canada, driving, flying, and even floating from coast to coast. She has performed with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra and will perform with the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra a little later on. And she's also performed with Winnipeg's Camerata Nova. In 2018, she won a Canadian Folk Music Award for Emerging Artist of the Year. Joining me here in the Classic 107 studio is Raine Hamilton. So nice to have you here, Raine.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So first of all, what did we just hear?
We heard the song Starlight. That is off of the album Night Sky, which won that award that you mentioned. And it features the string trio. So that's actually me playing the violin and singing alongside a cellist, Nat Felicitas, and bassist Quentin Bart, both from Winnipeg. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. So I know you're a violinist, guitarist, and singer. How did you come to music, and specifically folk music, as an outlet for expression? Maybe you could talk about your beginnings?
Yeah, how did I come to music? It has just always been part of my life and my family. My parents are musicians, and music was just a part of our household. It was always happening. My dad is a prolific guitarist and singer-songwriter, and he just knows like the whole discography of his era. So that was the soundtrack really to my childhood, was that. And so that's where I think I get a lot of the influence of songwriting and of this like acoustic singer-songwriter sound.
Right.
And I, from a young age, also was just really drawn to the violin, and I just really wanted to learn the classical rep of the violin. And so I pursued that also from a young age. And I did a degree in classical music in town here in Winnipeg at University of Manitoba,
right?
In, like on violin. And then when you kind of combine all of those influences together, we get this work that I'm so proud to create now.
Nice, nice. So who did you like grow up listening to, like off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, Beatles in the extreme. I'm such a Beatles fan. Dylan was huge. Neil Young was huge.
Joni Mitchell, maybe?
Some Joni Mitchell, but mostly the way I heard this would be like my dad playing these songs.
Right.
So it was such an interesting way to learn this music because I didn't learn it in its original arrangement or from its original recordings. I learned it as covered by my dad.
Right.
So I learned it in my living room.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Only like later on did I kind of piece it together. Like, oh, I'm a huge Neil Young fan. I didn't know all those songs are Neil Young fans. Oh, I'm a huge Beatles fan. That's a Beatles song. That's a Beatles song. Putting it together. I love this.
That's great. You've had a great deal of success. You've performed with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. You will be performing with the MCO. What's that like? Separating yourself from being yourself and your trio on stage is to performing with such a large ensemble.
The large ensemble, it's like riding like a musical dragon. It's like there's all of this cooperative force with everyone, their intention placed in this beautiful way to create this art together. And the force of all of that together, all of that team, all of that sound it's like a wave, a musical dragon. I mean, I assume.
That's great. I also know with your shows, it's not only about the music. For you, you're also a great storyteller. Can you talk about that? Like, where do the stories come from? Do they come from your adolescence? Do they come from your travels? How do the stories incorporate into the show?
The stories are usually me sharing like some context of the song or something that like ties in thematically with the song. And those stories are usually drawn from my life or from an experience that has affected me. And as like a fan of art and live performance, I have always loved that, to know that context and that information.
Right.
And for me as an enjoyer of the arts, that has always helped me to connect more deeply.
Right.
So I knew that would be part of my approach as I do this as an artist myself.
So it's just a matter of setting up the song and telling the story about how it came about, essentially.
It sets the stage, yeah.
Yeah, of course. One of the other things I was reading about you, and I find this fascinating, is you do shows with
sign language.
Sign language.
That's
yeah.
right. Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Like, okay, if you're deaf, I guess you can't hear the music, but the stories can definitely be translated. How does that? I'm just trying to visualize that in my mind. How does
Sure,
that come
I'm
together?
happy to talk about this. This is a really cool process. So I started to work with like American Sign Language, ASL interpreters a couple years ago, and I've been doing this now in Winnipeg for a couple years, and then increasingly on the road in different places. And we've got a show coming up in Almont, Ontario, with ASL in March, for example. And I started to do this because I had heard from some deaf people in Winnipeg that like they really wanted to come. They were saying like, I want to come. I want to experience your art.
Right.
I want that experience of like meaningful emotional experience in a group like that. I want to be part of that. And they taught me that the way that they would access this would be to have an interpreter interpreting the meaning of the music. And that's really what's key. The interpreters do a lot of work really sitting with the music, and I contribute with that. Like we talk about like, what does this mean? What is this getting at here? There's also like deaf consultants from the deaf community that contribute like, oh, this is how this could be expressed. So like it's this really cool teamwork that makes really like a companion piece of art in ASL that then is expressed simultaneously with the music on stage, so that everyone who's either accessing that like in the auditory way at the concert or via this signed language, the visual language, we're all along for the same ride, and we're all having like the same emotional experience in real time. It's very profound.
That sounds great. I mean, just incorporating that aspect in it just sounds marvelous. The concert tomorrow, you're performing with cellist, help me out with the...
Nat Felicitas.
Yes, Nat Felicitas, and bassist Quentin Bart. How did you meet them? And because you recorded with them, how did that trio come about?
The trio came about, I operate as an artist a lot by feel. I feel pretty in touch with like the clues of my internal world, or like the clues from my body. And I knew I wanted to do something along the veins of chamber music, because when I heard other artists who do that, like Chris Thiele comes to mind, like the Yo-Yo Ma Goat Rodeo sessions, things like that, I would think like, is this even for real?
Mark
or the
O'Connor,
Sparrow Quartet,
Mark
like
O'Connor, all that stuff.
All those people. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. This is for me. And Quentin, I had known, he and I had met at music school. Right. We were in this great course together, Anatomy for Musicians. Changed my life. It was fantastic. So that's how Quentin and I know each other. And he's just such a creative, outside the box artist. I knew he would be a great fit. And then Nat, I knew just from the music community, and she is so brilliant at bridging worlds. So she is classically trained, but also she's like an experimental sound artist. She's very fearless in her approach. It's great.
So one of the things I have, speaking as a classical trained musician, do you have charts or that you then sort of memorize, or how does that process work when you're putting together original stuff?
We operate as a hybrid between a chamber ensemble that would have usually starting from like a notated place, and a folk approach, which is organic ensemble worked out together. So usually our process is I will come with a song with like the melody, the harmony, the form, and then
chord changes, etc.
All of that is present, and then together in rehearsals we just like feel it out, and we say, okay, well, let's try this. I'll just do this run starting here. You do the run at a third. Let's try this. Well, you know, and we just kind of figure it out. Sometimes like I come with some notated things, but what they create or what they add always enhances it. So the benefit of working together in that teamwork way is huge.
Oh, wow.
They're great.
That sounds amazing. And you are going to be performing tomorrow at the Raine JCC as part of the Music and Mavens concert and lecture series. Can you talk about what audiences are going to expect to hear tomorrow at that concert?
I am looking forward to this concert. We are going to perform an hour set, so it starts at 2:00, and we'll incorporate a lot of our original works, like original songs, with these trio arrangements. So a lot similar to what you heard in that song Starlight, very chamber folk influenced. And we're also going to play a lot of covers from the 60s and 70s. So this is me drawing on like my origin story as an artist and that music that I learned from my parents. So I guess it's like the living room hits of the Hamilton household from when I was a kid, really.
So artists that they're going to be hearing other than the Beatles are...
Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan.
Nice.
Gordon Lightfoot.
So, I mean, okay, so you've got the whole sort of 60s, 70s thing. Is there like another kind of theme other than the era that you were looking for, or just sort of just basic hits from the Raine Hamilton household.
I think really what ties it together is that this is just like the organic story of music of my life.
That's great.
And I think it's a pretty relatable experience in that way, in that it's just kind of the natural confluence of things.
Right.
You know?
And so the stories that you're going to be telling, well, I would imagine were probably going to be about growing up and listening to this music. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I'll share like what it means to me, why this is meaningful, the way that I learned it, and it'll tie together. Nice.
I understand you have one more tune that you're going to play for us here live in studio. Do you want to maybe just set that up and tell us what we're going to hear?
I travel a lot as an artist. This is such a gift. And actually in 2019, I just counted and I was amazed by this number, but I was gone on the road 28 weeks of 2019.
Wow.
That strikes me as rather a lot.
Yeah. A lot of hotel rooms.
Right. And just, a lot of miles, a lot of connecting, a lot of shows, a lot of ears, and a lot of landscapes. And I noticed that I am really influenced by the places that I am. I just feel it so deeply. And so this song is set in one of my most favorite places on the earth, on Prince Edward Island, which I just can't even explain my love for this place, but it is so magical. And I stood with my feet like in that iconic red dirt and the red sand at the beach as the tide came in. And I'm such a prairie person, like very much from Manitoba, very much from the prairie. And we don't have the ocean here. So when I encounter that forest, I feel so moved by it. Like it is mesmerizing, this power of the water and the earth and the moon. And it just is so tangible and earthly and so cosmic at the same time. Right. Amazing. So this song is about that power of the tide, like the breathing, the in and out breath of the earth. That is the tide. This is called Bury My Heart. Bury my heart, bury my body, bury my heart in the sea. The earth turns to gravel. Bury my heart in the sea. Pulse in slow motion. Bury my heart in the sea. The breath of the mother, touch of the other. Bury my heart in the sea. And call it in, call it out. Call it in. I don't know what they told you, it wasn't true. Bury my, oh, bury my heart. The shallow water and the tide that brought her. Bury my heart in the sea. Carry it together now and forever. Bury my heart in the sea. Bury my heart, bury my body, bury my heart in the sea.
Amazing. Beautiful. Thanks for so much for stopping by. It was just great. Join the Raine Hamilton Trio tomorrow at the Rady JCC located at 123 Doncaster Street. The concert starts at 2 p.m. and is sure to be a great show. This is part of the Music and Mavens concert series. And if you want more details about the concert tomorrow with the Raine Hamilton Trio, go to radyjcc.com and just click on the Music and Mavens link, which is at the bottom of the homepage. Raine, thanks again for stopping by. It was just
my pleasure. Thank you.
Wonderful.
From our studios in downtown Winnipeg, you've been listening to 107 Live, Classic 107's Intimate Concert Series, the soundtrack for your life.